Hello and welcome to Put to Practice Cooking. I have my guest here, Cody. We are going to be making his own tri-tip. I've never done this before, and he's made this quite a few times.
Yeah, I actually make this about weekly. This is a great recipe for if you don't necessarily have access to a grill. So we do make this fully in a oven. We will be searing it in the oven as well as cooking it fully in the oven, as well as we will be doing a rice, some corn, and biscuits to go along with it, as well as timings for when to get it all done so it ends up being ready all at the same time for dinner.
All right, let's get started.
All right, so tri-tips, I try to go for about a 3 pound for a family of 3 to 4, just that way everybody has nice big chunks of meat to enjoy. When looking for our meats at the store, we do try to go for something with a little bit of more marbling. The excess fat doesn't necessarily matter because we will be cutting that off and using that for our rice water to cook our rice. So after we take it out of our packaging, we will wash it in the sink before we start cutting it, just to make sure there's nothing excess on it or anything possibly from the store. All right, so here we'll get to start cutting this thing down. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll check both sides here, and not too much fat on the top here. We can leave that little bit there, it don't matter on the top, give a little bit of flavor, but we'll cut off this first excess pieces right here along the edges. And we will not be throwing this stuff right away because there is little bits of meat in here and there when we're trimming it, because nobody's perfect. And just as we cut them down, we're going to be throwing them over here in a 3-quart pot. Mine personally is a stainless steel one, but we will be using this and some water later to be making our water for our rice. And as I said, since there is meat chunks on there, it does give a little bit of meaty flavor to our rice. And if you choose that you don't want to make the rice, you can always just toss that fat, cook it up for the dog, any little use. That way we're not necessarily wasting everything. Especially now in today's day and age. So definitely on the bottom of these tri-tips, some places don't like to trim it off. I've had ones where it's a full fat cap here. That full fat cap, I probably won't use all of it for that rice just because that is a lot of fat. We don't necessarily need all that fat. We just need a good couple handfuls.
It's just about impossible to get it all off, right?
Yeah, you can if you really want to spend time like really trimming it down. Some people have that patience. I don't. And it's not enough to necessarily matter. Memory, you're not really going to notice. It's not like gristle where you're going to sit there and just be chewing on it. But yeah, we got it good enough. So you can see in there, we got a little bit over a handful of fat with a little bit of cut off some meat. Check it out, we're pretty good. This little bit, it'll leave some seasoning. It'll give you a little bit of that nice tenderness that fat does tend to give. But yeah, and from here we will go on to mixing our dry rub seasoning to start this. And then once we season it, we will get to starting the rice. So we can start boiling that water down, and then we'll go from there. All right, so now with our seasonings here, I got them all nice and lined up. A couple of these are optional. Obviously, some people have preferences. Big ones are turmeric. If you do not use turmeric, I will use a garlic powder as the base. Some people aren't super into garlic, so I tend to go with the turmeric base with granulated garlic. So that way it's not super garlicky. So we'll start with our turmeric here. Depending on the size of your steak, this is how much you will use of this. I will use ending up about 2 to 3 tablespoons.
So that would be about for a 3-pound one.
Yeah, for about 3 pound, I'll use about 3 tablespoons worth. I don't normally measure it. I usually put a nice little bowl like this. I mix them all into, and then I can use a fork or something to stir it up. to make it so it's nice and even. But we'll go through here and we'll try to measure this out. Take a little bit of time here. So, oop. 1, 2, and we'll do about 2.5. That's plenty. Turmeric gives a nice base, but you do got to be careful because that stuff will stain your hands or your nails, as well as if you have any countertops that aren't granite, it will stain them. So if you have any of the laminated ones, you will leave that on there. So do be careful with your pouring on that one, as well as any clothes. If you're wearing any clothes that are not a darker color, if you get that stuff on it, it will leave a yellowish stain. All right, and then next one on that we will do. I got thyme leaves here. We'll do about a teaspoon of that. We're nothing too crazy. Gives a nice little zest to it. Yep, just shy of a teaspoon. Nice enough. All right. Rub sage. Do a little bit less than that. It's nice and powdered out, so it's not, nice big chunks. Got right here a 1/4 teaspoon. Got a little spillage, but that's all right.
That's why I use rub sage compared to regular sage.
You don't necessarily want stuff that's all super chunky considering we are using granulated garlic as well as minced onion. I got over here. We'll be getting to that next here. You don't want stuff that's necessarily too crunchy. You want more powdered stuff because that'll actually stick to the meat better. If you have stuff that's too chunky and stuff, it tends to fall off. You don't have as much of your seasoning stain on the meat.
Okay.
Obviously, you want to taste your seasonings. You don't want to see them on the bottom of the pan, not doing anything for your food.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Give that a little shake. Get that in there. So this one, a lot of people don't necessarily use or have at home. It's a big one that I use in a lot of my recipes nowadays. Is ground cardamom. It is considered one of the royal spices. It is really nice, brand new one. I just got it here. From the shaker, I really only ever give it 2 to 3 shakes. There is no real easy way to measure that small amount. It doesn't need a lot to give flavor. It enhances garlic and ginger flavors without making them overly pungent, because both of those are very pungent flavors in and of themselves. But if you have either one or both, it accentuates the flavor without while reducing the pungency. Okay, which is really cool. It's also really healthy. Yeah. There's a lot of health benefits. So I got 2, 3. That's it. Not a ton.
Did not know that about cardamom. That's good to know.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of interesting things with a lot of seasons. Same with turmeric, great for high blood pressure, heart problems, stuff like that. That's a big reason why I started using that over garlic. My whole family has, high blood pressure and stuff like that. So finding ways to reduce the chances of that for myself as well as my family has always been kind of a good thing of figuring out how to season stuff while increasing the health benefits in any way I can.
Yeah, definitely.
So next I got here oregano. Don't use a ton. It is normally something you put in spaghetti sauce and stuff like that. Just a teaspoon. It's kind of going back to the, a little bit chunkier things you don't necessarily want. We'll actually probably just do a 1/2 teaspoon for this one here. Yeah, about 1/2 teaspoon, because I do have a little bit of spillage there. And that gives you kind of that aromatic to accentuate your rosemary, which is what we will be going through to next. If you have rosemary bushes, great. They're super easy to take care of. The things explode at home. Fortunately, I haven't planted any at my place, so I get it from the store. For this as well, we'll do a teaspoon. All right, toss that on in there. Paprika, I like to have in there. It's got essentially it's just dried bell pepper. I just do 2 shakes from the shakers. It's not a lot, but it adds a little bit of smoothness to it. Black pepper. Some people aren't a huge fan of black pepper. I personally love it.
Yeah, I prefer white in my opinion.
White does have a smoother flavor.
That's kind of why I like it. It's much more subtler kind of thing.
Yeah, this is definitely one where I will not be pouring it over there.
Yeah.
In case it does.
You don't want to overdo that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo your black pepper there. We will be just doing a quarter teaspoon here. Not a lot, but something to give it. I know a lot of people will do like a heavy base of black pepper for their steaks, their briskets, and stuff like that, which is all good if you're smoking it.
Yeah.
If you're not smoking it, which we're not doing, you don't need a ton.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, with smoking, how long it takes for everything, a lot of people don't have the time and patience for.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly it's the time, not necessarily patience. Like if you keep track of it, it's not too bad. But not everybody has a smoker.
Yeah.
Where did sage? Oh, I kept them in the line.
Oh, yeah.
Did we do time?
Possibly.
I don't think we did time. I would have made a time joke.
All
right. You know, time here. Everybody's a little short on it. But we always make time for good food and family. So, again, another quarter teaspoon. Not too much here. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of these are they're kind of chunky, not necessarily powdered. Minced onion. This is one, if you don't necessarily like chunks of onion, you don't need it. It does add to the flavor. I have, in a pinch, obviously used onion powder. In my opinion, onion powder and minced onion have very different flavors because powder tends to be made from the skin of an onion, not actually the onion. So they do impart a slightly different flavor. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Minced onion, I've seen sometimes it is skin, but they do taste a little bit different than putting like fresh garlic or fresh onion and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
For this one, I'll do about a tablespoon of the minced. It's gonna take forever through the shaker.
Yeah, just careful.
You want plenty. I'll do about a quarter more. All right, so 1 1/4 there of the mince, because you kind of want that onion all over the place. We'll give that a nice little shake. Looks nice, pretty. Yeah. So here's one that is a huge optional. It's not everybody likes cilantro. This is dried coriander. I know it says garlic, but this is dried coriander, which not everybody's aware is just another name for cilantro. Lots of parts of the world call it coriander instead of cilantro. So that is, be aware. If you think that cilantro tastes like soap, do not use this. It will leave that little bit of soapy flavor in there. But if you do like cilantro, coriander and stuff, it is nice. I get it powdered, dried out and powdered. I do. It ends up being about a quarter right there. Not a lot, you can see it. I just kind of pour it in.
Yeah.
And if you are a little bit on the zesty side, we do end up doing a dark chili powder. I do about half a teaspoon of that as well. It does make the mix a little bit darker, but Wonderful Egan here is not a huge fan of spicy food, so we'll keep that off to the side.
Yeah.
Last thing I throw in here though is anise. Big benefits from that as well. It helps with meats tenderizing and stuff like that. But small little trivia on that. Theraflu, a big component in that is made from star anise, which is what anise is, ground down. All I do, nice little pinch. That's it. Doesn't need a lot. It has a lot of flavor. You can actually smell it. It's probably the most aromatic thing here outside of the oregano.
Yeah.
But you can kind of smell it and you're like, oh, that kind of smells like
black licorice.
Yeah, it does smell like black licorice. But yeah, fun fact about that. So if you ever feel a little under the weather, you can sit there and make a tea out of fresh anise. You can mix in anise, some tangerine rinds and stuff, and make like a dried out, mix them in. You can make a tea out of it and then strain it, obviously. But it's really good for when you have a cold, flu. It definitely helps with sinuses and stuff like that. Yeah. So now we have everything mixed here. Grab a fork or whatever mixing utensil you do want to use. Use a fork. 2 ways I usually do it. I just sit there, I'll shake it on. pat it in with one hand. That way I'm not contaminating the spices, because if you do make more spice than you need, you can always keep it. If you do keep the spice, put it into a spice shaker or whatever, and then you can reuse it for smaller steaks, whatever you want in the future. Especially if you don't use the rice. I make enough because I do end up using this to season the water for the rice, so you do have a similarly flavored rice to go with it, because not everybody likes to just eat plain white rice. Sometimes I'll just eat the rice by itself. I don't need the steak to have it because it has enough flavor that it's, a snack. So another way you can do it, you can sit here and you scoop it with a fork and, nice and evenly just kind of pour it out, which takes forever.
Yeah.
So nice thing here, we'll just nice little shake, and we'll just kind of pat it into the meat. And then any excess we'll be using to kind of cover the edges here. The nice thing too, if you start seeing like mostly like that, where it's a lot of turmeric, you can kind of mix it up a little bit more with that fork. Definitely be liberal. A lot of this will fall off when we flip it over to season the backside. Oh, grab this here. See, look at all that. Most of it fell off, but we're gonna do that. We're gonna do this. Kind of pat it in there. See, now it's stuck nice to the bottom there. As well as your sides will be getting nice and covered.
Yeah, then now it's all over to me. I can just really smell it. It's already smelling good. It's not even cooked yet.
Yeah, see, not even cooked, and you already got that nice, yummy scent of all of those aromatics and the seasonings and stuff. And you got to think, if it smells this good, how good is it going to smell while it's cooking?
Yeah.
Your whole house is going to smell like this.
Yeah.
Probably for the rest of the day, night. Maybe when you wake up in the morning, you'll be like, man, that steak I had last night was great.
Yeah.
So, I'll get here. Oh, I poured a bunch there.
Yeah.
So, nice thing is, a lot of the seasoning will be going into that
rice.
Yeah. So, I did pour a little bit extra than I should have, but that's fine. We got a bunch.
Yeah. See, so, we can do the top right there. Just kind of make it right there.
Yeah. So, we're trying to cover as much of this as possible here. So, if you see any red spots, just sit there and pat it down on your cutting board. That way you're not wasting anything, Spices, they're only as good as what you put.
Yeah.
So we're nice and evenly, for the most part here. Pour a little bit extra on top once we put it in the pan, if you don't mind. My hands are covered in
absolutely
spices. We'll put that thing right there. Move that right here. So this is a pan that I love using. It is a 2-part pan. Comes with this nice little grating and stuff, so it keeps it off the base of the pan. So any drippings that are going there, a lot of problems with a lot of people that do steaks like this in an oven is it gets soggy on the bottom when you do a dry rub. By doing this, now I have air on all 4 sides. Every bit of it is not touching something wet.
Yeah.
It gives it a place to drip. It gives it place so that way any juices that are dripping out of it aren't making your seasonings soggy. That is a huge complaint that a lot of people have when they do stuff like this. So you don't necessarily have to have one of these. You can always, they're pretty cheap to get a cheaper one. This is a nice copper set I got for Christmas years back from family. But in a pinch, you can use just a regular broiler pan, whatever.
Do you have to get the pan part? Could you possibly just get like a wire rack kind of situation and do that?
Yeah, but you need something to collect the drippings.
Yeah.
If you don't want,
No, yeah, I mean like a pan and then just a regular wire.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, okay. You could get a wire thing and then just a wide enough pan that you could set it in it.
Okay.
Nice. Thankfully enough, this is the Copperware brand. They come together as a unit.
Perfect.
They also come with a deep one, which is really cool. I've actually done, if I do like veggies and stuff, like a veggie casserole kind of thing in there, I'll use the deep one because this will sit on the outside of it, and I'll do the veggies and stuff underneath it, put the steak on top. Now you have the drippings of that steak, the juices, the seasoning, the sauces, and everything will actually drip into the veggies, and then when you stir up the veggies, you have that nice little, can't think of the word now, flavor, seasoning into your veggies. So
perfect.
Once we're done with this, we will set our oven to 500. The reason why we set it so freaking high is because it will sear the outside, sealing all of the juices into it. This is the part where most of those drippings end up coming out. We will set it at 500, and once it's done, while it's preheating, we will prep the rice and we will prep our other sides. And then once it's at 500, we'll get to that point and we'll go through timings and everything so we can get this all together all at the same time. For the rice, we do have our meat in there still, all of our little cuttings and fat. So we will fill this to, this is a 3-quart. I fill it halfway, so it's just shy of a quart and a half if you really want to measure it. But because of the meat, whether you have more meat or less meat, it will change how much water is in there. Use that nice, wonderful filtered water since we are cooking with it. And I'll fill this till about halfway. So it's about a quart and a half to a quart and a quarter. Not too crazy. Here we go. Nice half, a little over half full because it will boil down. So for rice, my preferred rice for cooking is basmati rice. It takes to seasonings very, very well. It just absorbs it. It's got a nice flavor to it. It's not too sticky like some rices. It's not too like hard like some like the long grain rices where they're kind of like crunchy, chewy kind of thing. It's a nice in between. It's got a nice flavor. Mine here is Royal. You can get it at most supermarkets. Basmati is, if you don't do basmati, another good one is jasmine rice. Both are very, very good rices when you're wanting to season the rice and you don't necessarily need it to be just a plain white rice.
Okay.
I'll use this for chicken plates, beef plates, doesn't matter, because it always is going to get seasoned. I don't just necessarily make it just as a white rice. You can, but I don't.
It's meant to have stuff added onto it compared to like sushi rices, which I usually use that kind of
definitely. Yeah, like basmati rice, like people that do like tikka masala, a lot of Indian and Middle Eastern dishes will use basmati rice because, again, you look at all those dishes, none of them are white rice. They're always seasoned with turmeric, with other seasonings like that. They absorb those seasonings so well that it fits. I've tried doing it with basic white rice. Doesn't hold the seasoning as well. You can still taste the white rice necessarily through the seasoning. It feels like it's white rice with the seasoning on top, in my opinion. Some people might disagree with that. For measurings, I don't have a cup measuring. I take a basic coffee cup here, basic size coffee cup. Couldn't tell you the actual size on this, so it doesn't say it. But for that much water, for that quart and a half, I will do 2 full coffee cups.
Okay.
We got one right there. And we'll do a second one. And then we will take this water to a boil. I don't know if you can see it in there. It's kind of hard to see, but you have, some people will say there's a finger measuring. You can usually measure it to your first knuckle. This one is going a little bit, because I did fill it a little bit over. It's going to about right there. You can kind of see that water on my finger. So we will put that over here on the stove and put that on high heat. And then once it is done, once we are done with putting that on the heat, we will take our extra seasonings. Roughly you'll have, if you measured everything right and didn't over pour like I did a little bit, you'll have about 2 tablespoons worth of seasoning left.
Okay.
I will then take that extra seasoning and we will put that over into that water to boil down. One thing I did do that I realized, you don't necessarily put the rice in before you put the water in.
Yeah.
Or when you put the water in, you boil it, then put the rice in. So we will be fixing that and going from there. All right. So once you get that timer going off, we will set this thing to 30 minutes. Reason we do 30 minutes and not 40. If you're not doing biscuits or anything else, set it for 40, you're good to go. Set it for 30, because once that timer goes off, we will throw our wonderful Pillsbury biscuits onto a thing for that nice 12 minutes and toss them in. So we'll set this thing for 30. Your rice should be finishing up right about now. And you can just set it off to the side, cool down.
You also decrease the temperature, right?
Yes, we do decrease from that 500 down to 350. It's the same as it requires for the biscuits, so everything works out in the end there. So yeah, we turned it down. We're about 30 minutes right now. We're going to start prepping our biscuits and our corn. So that way, once we throw the biscuits in, we'll then throw the corn in the microwave, because we're making this easy for families here. All right. So yeah, we'll come back in a bit. Got our nice, wonderful steak here, just out of the oven. It's already been sitting for about a minute or so here. Just letting it sit to finalize itself. Grab that big old knife from over there if you don't mind, bud.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Just nice and right there. Bring it on over. And look at that turmeric. You can see that.
Yeah, nice.
So, as you see, just from where I stabbed, look at all that juices. And that's just from where I stabbed it with a fork.
Yeah.
I'll cut this thing in half right here. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's
A nice medium rare to medium. If that's in the thicker part of the steak, I probably could have done maybe 2-3 minutes less. And we would have been nice and perfect. But you can see that juice. Look at that.
ooh, yeah.
Super juicy. Cut a nice chunk right here. You can see that steam, the juice is coming out of that. Look at that. And it just right through it like butter, even with a smaller knife, just to show you. Like butter.
Yeah.
And give that a try. Tender, juicy, just cuts right through it. You don't have to really chew it. You can do this. Even with little to no gums, that thing come right out for you. And,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Those are hot.
Yeah.
Told you. It's good.
Mhm.
And you got our rice right here done.
Yeah.
Nice and buttery. And the corn, all of it done right at the same time.
Yeah. One thing I never really do. Most of the time, I just make like one item and then
Boom.
work on
corn.
afterwards.
Biscuits should be done up here. About another 30 seconds in the oven there, so
But
a
yeah,
little bit slow on that oven, but yeah.
yeah,
there you go.
we got our perfect family dinner. I appreciate you showing me your recipe.
Yeah, definitely.
And hope you guys all enjoy it. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.